check in on your friends. You never know how they're doing.
So, welcome back, everybody. It's your boy. And we are here with a good friend of mine that I've known for a long time, Keegan Lewins. Welcome, Keegan. We're so pumped to have you.
So pumped to be here.
You don't have to talk that close.
Well,
you don't have to eat the microphone.
Are you sure?
You're good.
ASMR.
Yeah, it's good. You're good. So, Keegan, I have a lot of questions for you, but a lot of what I have is more related to part of your life that's more recent than more of the beginnings of your life. But I did want to touch on the start of everything for you, where you grew up, how was your childhood, talk about your siblings, just give everybody a little background on who you are.
Okay. I'm the youngest of 6. Irish Catholic family. Not so Catholic, but Irish.
Not good Catholic, at least, right?
I think on the outside, I had a decent childhood. Like, my parents stayed together. We stayed in one house. We never moved. There was always food on the table. But I kind of grew up in, like, a chaotic home. So, like, my dad was an alcoholic. My mom is... I don't know how to describe her. Sick. I'm going to say sick.
Okay.
In her own way. It was chaotic. I think from the outside, it looked like a good home. Like a Rocky River family home. But it was chaotic on the inside. It was the youngest of 6. Alcoholic father. I have a brother who's got bipolar schizophrenia. Everybody kind of suffered with whatever that was.
Right, absolutely.
I don't know. I think my dad wasn't really around much. I had a hard time in school, and then...
When did you notice that your family... Because I think everybody looks at other people and goes, especially in the Rocky River community, they look at it as, oh, wow, like, they have this, or they seem like they're killing it, or I wish I had that family, or whatever it might be. When did you notice, like, maybe yours was a little different in that sense?
I don't know if there was an exact time. I think I realized my family was different, or I was different, honestly, in, like, 2nd to 3rd grade.
Okay.
I think it was like, that's when the time when you start to have sleepovers with people and you kind of notice the family dynamic when you go over there. Like, everybody sat at a dinner table and ate dinner with their family, and like their dad would tuck them into bed or say goodnight, or like kind of like cushy. Now I would call it cushy because I'm just not familiar with it. But like, I think I noticed it, and when you started to have sleepovers, like the family dynamic was just, mine wasn't there. Like,
right.
Still to this day, I don't think I've ever heard my dad be like, I love you. He shows it in his own way, but like growing up, it was just really weird to see a dad that was loving. I was like, ew, you hug your dad?
Yeah, that's a different one. I've actually met a couple people, so like physical touch was not like an affection in your family per se.
Yeah. I also think it was like...
Because your brother Micah, for instance, used to show me love by punching me.
Yeah,
and that was his way of...
That was it.
Of physical love. He used to tell me to get my fat ass to the gym after school in English, and then show me love by proceeding to punch me.
Like my sisters would hold me down when like I was going through puberty and just punch the shit out of my tits.
Nice, dude.
I'm not even kidding. Yeah, it was just like... Does that hurt now?
Yeah.
You're getting there. You're getting puberty.
I can't see Emily holding you down and just beating the piss out of you.
Oh, she was the worst.
Really?
She was the worst one.
Really?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Because her boobs never grew.
Oh, okay. So she was just pissed at you. She was pissed at you, dude. Titty drama in the Lewins household, bro. Okay, so you grew up like that. I love your brother TJ.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's been through a million things. I wanted to ask you this. I think people have maybe had said things in the past about or perceived who he was or whatever it might be. For those people out there that do have family members maybe in that same situation, what do you do to still love him with still keeping that distance? Does that make sense?
That's a really good question. And I still struggle with it. I think I have boundaries today. I didn't have boundaries before. I think after losing a brother, like, it made me feel like I had to be so close with him, because if he ever did die, which, is a true possibility with somebody who suffers with addiction, is bipolar schizophrenic, kind of all over the place.
Right. And he's such a nice fucking guy.
Such a nice guy.
I mean? That's the hardest part.
That's the thing, though. He's nice when he's not in that kind of psychosis.
Right.
So I think what I do now, we talk. I haven't seen him in 3 years, but we talk every once in a while when I can tell he's in a good mood. I do have boundaries where we don't talk about family stuff. We talk about stuff that's happening in our personal lives that are unrelated to family.
Right.
Because there are just some people in families that come from a very negative place. And it took me so long to get out of that and not be resentful. And he's still in that place. I put everything that if it's a negative thought about the family or what I'm doing, it's just not said. And that's where my boundary goes. I love him from a distance. I wish that I could be somebody that calls him every day, but it's exhausting for me.
Right.
So it's like a month-to-month basis on how he's doing as to what I can tolerate. Like, if he's in a great mood and is telling me what he's doing in his life, we can have an hour-long conversation. But if I notice there's mania or a psychosis going on, or he's talking about what happened when we grew up, I can't be there.
Yeah, but you know that at least. That's a big thing to know.
Yeah.
That's a big thing for you to know, probably for your own triggers.
Yeah. Right? It's huge.
You had grown up through Rocky River, gone to the schools. 2011 comes around.
Yeah.
It's December 28th was Micah's birthday in 2010, right? And then January 2nd came around and Micah had passed away.
Yes.
If you don't mind, run me through that morning for you. Because I think a lot of people have maybe... It's fucking Rocky River, right? So yeah. I feel like a lot of people have probably heard what they want to hear, right? And just been like, well, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Versus no one's ever really spoken about it like this, at least. So I'd like, if you would, just run me through your day there.
Yeah.
And then detail specifically, like, your emotions. Like, where are you?
So, you know what? I go to therapy for this now because a lot of it I don't remember. I remember bits and pieces, but, like, I just don't, like, things don't connect for me. Like, I remember I had Micah the night before. Let's start from 2 nights before.
Go ahead.
So, 2 nights before, my mom had noticed marks on his neck. Like, he had attempted. And he was coaching me to sleep over somebody's house almost as if he didn't want me in the home.
Got it.
You know? And I said no that night. I said, absolutely not. Let's hang out. We played Call of Duty. We watched movies. The following night, he was like, I'll be fine. Go sleep over Abby's. I went to sleep over my friend's house. I had a great night at the sleepover. I had to be home early because I had gymnastics in the morning. And I guess when I was dropped off, I just missed the ambulance. So he wasn't there when I got there. Okay. And I ran upstairs because I love gymnastics. I ran upstairs. I got changed. My mom was like, you're not going. Shelby friend had pulled into the driveway to come pick me up. And she went out to Shelby and was like, she's not coming. Because nobody knew at this point. So Shelby was like, oh, okay, maybe she's sick, you know?
Right.
So I come downstairs and I was pissed. I was like, why? I fucking love gymnastics. I'm going to fucking gymnastics. What the fuck, Mom?
Right.
And I remember she sat me down at our kitchen table and she flat out said, Micah killed himself. Like, not in a gentle way. I remember being like, no, it's TJ. Right. Like, that was my first thought. Like, no, it was TJ. And she was like, no, it was Micah. And I said, where the fuck is he? And so she was like, he's not here. Don't worry about it. And so I go into the living room and I'm like, because I had to be by myself for a minute to kind of process everything. And then she was like, you have to get ready. You have to get ready. And I said, for what? And she was like, people are coming over. I have to call the board and da-da-da, because the school board, which we all know that was leaked.
Yeah.
So somebody ended up leaking on the school board. I'm not going to mention names, but
I found out.
My sister found out from somebody else before my mom got to call her.
Really?
Yes.
So I found out at, I want to say it had to have been 7:30 or 8 in the morning, and Sierra had called.
Yeah.
And
so it had
like,
gotten
what
out.
the fuck? And I was like
my sister found out from somebody else.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So my sister's calling us. Now we have to tell everybody else just in case somebody else calls them. And then, I kid you not, it felt like 2 minutes later, it was like the football team, the wrestling team, friends, my friends, school, like, just, you couldn't walk an inch in my house. Like, not, like, people were crowded outside, inside. we didn't have one moment as a family to be like, what the fuck just happened? It was like everybody was there and we were consoling people, and it was just like, I remember this one moment, my mom told me to get ready and I never got ready because I couldn't go upstairs because I knew it happened upstairs.
Yeah, of course.
So I couldn't go upstairs. She comes down and she said, because people were here at this point. She's like, are you going to get ready? I said, no, I can't go upstairs. And then she kind of looks at me and she kind of consoles me, and she's like, it's okay. It's okay. And I was like, where was he? And she said, his room. And then I said, how did it happen? And she looked at me like, do you really want to know? And I was like, no, I don't want to know.
Right.
So it was like we never had a moment of like, what happened, were the events. Like, it was just like everybody was there in that moment. All day.
So, yeah, when you look back at that now, I'm sure, it sounds like if you could have done it differently, you would have definitely not had...
Yeah.
You would have, as a family, been able to sit down.
Yeah.
Let's deal with this today, and we'll go from there.
I felt like we were kind of like robbed of moments.
I believe that.
And it was just like...
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, I felt like we were robbed of moments. And me, just being the youngest kid there, it was like I was robbed of this moment, after the funeral happened and everything. It was like I was just left there with my parents. And it was like... Nobody came by after that. Like, it was like the grieving had happened for everybody else. Maybe there were some friends and a girlfriend and the grieving.
Life goes on, right?
But life goes on, and I was stuck there, like, in this house.
How was that for you, the realization after all that happened, that life does go on? Right? Because there's got to be something there when you experience a death where you're sitting there and you're watching other people, like, it's stupid shit for me, even like posting a picture.
Yeah.
It's like, how could you be happy right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I had like, I'm going to say, I struggled. Like, you had graduated at this point, but I was homeschooled. Like, Rocky River gave me packets to go home.
Really?
So I could be at home. Yeah, I couldn't make it in school. We were doing Romeo and Juliet that year, and it was like, everybody was like, oh, is Keegan going to cry? Because, like, they both commit suicide at the end, It was just, like, it was just weird for me to be back in that school. And Micah, like, my first day of high school, walked me in with his hand over my shoulder and was like, don't look at her to all these dudes. It was like he was my buddy,
Like, I'll tell you what, he was always like that with you.
Yeah.
And I was never so much with Emily that we noticed. But with you, yeah, he definitely was like, yo...
Yeah.
Keep your hands off.
Yeah.
A little
like
freshman.
Yeah, he was like my dad, really.
Yeah, I miss him quite a bit. He was a really good person.
Yeah.
So I remember the first day of school, which was the 3rd. You come back. That was the worst day. I talked to Mr. Polanski about this, actually, on one podcast with him. He had said that was the worst day of school he'd ever gone through in his life.
Yeah.
And I'll still agree. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget walking into school. It was just nobody there. Even if you didn't know Micah, everyone there was like, what the fuck?
You know what? So random, but this weekend I went on this spiritual retreat, and people write you letters.
Right.
And one of these letters that I had gotten was from Coach Beth. She was my coach from cheerleading.
Okay.
And she wrote about the day that after Micah died. And I don't recall, my brain, this is why I'm in therapy, I do not recall anything after that day.
It's one of the reasons she's in therapy.
I can't think of where the funeral was, what it looked like, who was there. Like, I don't remember things. And she wrote about how she drove me to school the next day. So I went to school the next day, apparently. I don't remember that, but I went to school the next day.
Okay.
And she was like, You did
go to school the day afterwards. You know what?
News to me. I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember that now. I don't know if I saw you, but I remember. I don't know. Maybe you had told me. I don't know.
I don't remember.
But yeah, I guess you were
she was like, she wrote this letter, and she's like, I drove you to school, and I sat in the parking lot waiting just in case you needed somewhere to go. Mm-hmm. So she sat in the parking lot this entire day. And she was like, I walked in a couple times to peek at you in your classes, but you weren't in your classes. So, like, I kind of walked around the school, and you were in the that library thing and the
fishbowl.
I don't.
Or Miss.
Yeah.
Used to hang out.
Yeah, the fishbowl. She was like, you were in the fishbowl, like, consoling people. So it was like I couldn't process it myself. Like, I don't even remember being at school, and I'm just like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Do
you think that that was more of just like a mode that you got into because it was like, I don't know what else to fucking do.
Yes, yeah, 100%. Like, I never had a moment to, like, realize this was happening. It was just like, it was like an external, like I was watching some movie and I was like, oh, that's so sad. I'm so sorry for your loss. Jeez. Not realizing, like, it's about to affect my entire life.
Originally, obviously, you're in that state of mind. You, at some point, come to the realization Micah's gone. Mm-hmm. Right? Walk me through that. It, like, actually set in with you that, like, my brother's dead, he killed himself. These are the facts. I have to move on now.
So...
Or I have to deal with these emotions, whatever it might be.
I feel like there was a sliver of a moment where I said, oh, fuck, like, he is dead. Because... for whatever reason, and this might be too much information, but my mom had begged this coroner, the people at Bush Funeral Homes, like, I want to see him before he gets clothes and makeup. Like, I want to see him before they fix him up. Well, he was an organ donor, so they had to do, like, an autopsy cut, basically. So we saw him on this metal slab, like, with a sheet over his dick, basically.
Right. And
he was cut up, and he fell on his longboard the night before, so he had a gash in his face, and he had donated, they took his bones, so his hands were up to his elbow. They took his hip bones, so his hips were sunken in. He had no eyeballs, so his eyes were sunken in. It was just like a scene out of a movie that, like...
that's a lot of information you just gave me.
Yeah. But it was like, dude, I saw that at 14, 5 days after my brother passed away.
Why did you see that?
I don't know.
I gotta ask that.
I have no idea. And to this day, I've been trying to work out because for years, I mean, I'm going to say it until 3 years ago, that's all I remembered about my brother. Was this last picture moment of when I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's too much.
Yeah, so...
that was my next question, was how old were you? Because I knew it was going to be around 14 or 15.
Yeah, I was 14. And it was like... I think what she thought, and I'm not blaming for this, I think she thought that it was going to be a beautiful moment just to see him as a raw person before they put makeup on and his clothes. And she thought it was going to be a beautiful moment, and what that beautiful moment turned out to be was horrific for me.
It's been traumatizing for 10 years.
Traumatizing. Yeah, traumatizing. So,
it's only funny because we're laughing about it now.
Yeah, but it royally fucked me up. I think, that was the moment that I said, oh, fuck, like... he is dead as a doornail, like he doesn't have organs anymore, And then, all of high school, I started drinking at 14,
Is that when that happened, kind of?
Oh,
or
yeah.
when it turned up, I guess.
So, I had gone to maybe one party with Micah beforehand, and then... I started drinking with friends. I think people were consoling me or wanted to be around. This is genuinely why I think I had friends, is because people felt bad for me. And I think that they liked a sob story, and they wanted to be friends with Keegan because they loved Micah. I just felt like it was some of the reason why I had friends, and they'd invite me to parties. And I remember at 14 realizing, like, I don't have to feel anything if I drink this.
So, like, Micah and I were not best friends, but I've known Micah forever. Always gave me shit, but we were just buddies.
Yeah.
How many people were that you noticed, maybe, and this shit irritates the piss out of me, is when people, like, claim to know somebody way better than they do after something bad happens.
Here's what I'm going to say. In the beginning, it bugged the shit out of me, because it came from everyone.
Right.
But now that I think about it, because it still happens, but, like, now that I think about it, I think death is scary. I think that when you lose somebody that's so close to you in age, or that you went to high school with, it's scary, and it touches you in a way. And I think people want to be validated for why they're sad about it, even if they only talk to him twice.
Right.
So if they make up these glorious stories about him, then they're validated why they feel so sad. So I don't necessarily feel like you don't have the right anymore, but in the beginning I was like, how fucking dare you?
Yeah, even in the beginning for a lot of us, I think it was like, oh, you don't ever want to overstep that.
Yeah.
And like you had guys like Alec who had been best friends with him.
Yeah.
So, and like to me, like him, Luciano, the McLeans,
Rami.
Yeah. Those are the guys that were always around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and they took me under their wing for like I knew
they love the shit out of you,
yeah,
man, and I still do. I'm sure of it.
Yeah,
you know, those are, and I'll tell you what. You look at all those guys now, fucking awesome people.
Yeah,
every fucking one.
Yeah,
like the McLeans, killing it.
Rami's got killing it.
Rami's gonna have like a football team, dude.
I know.
He's just popping out babies, dude.
Crazy.
Fucking crazy. I heard Rami has a huge dick, by the way. That's word on the street. Just
I
in case.
Wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know either, but if you're out there, Rami, word on the street, bro. So, yeah, I mean, dude, just rumors, you know. That's a good rumor. I wish somebody, no one would ever be like,
no one would ever.
Shut the fuck up, dude. Shut the fuck up, dude. That's hilarious. Full support group, which, and you still do. I'm sure you can call any of them anytime.
Yeah.
And they'd still be there for you. As far as your family went, after Micah had passed away, it was a rough dynamic or a different dynamic to begin with, right? And then how did that change?
Okay, so, I mean, it was rough. It was rough from the beginning. I think after that, I think my siblings have a different experience just because I was the one left in the house. I grew up with completely different parents than my siblings. I couldn't
stay in the house, by the way. There's no way if I was your parents, I don't think I could have done it. But
they're never going to move out of that place.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They're going to die in it.
Okay.
But I grew up with completely different parents. I was fresh. Like, my parents didn't want to go to my graduation because Micah never got to. They didn't want to take prom pictures because Micah never got to. It was like they had one dead son and not 5 living children. It was just like...
That's a really good way to describe it.
Everything revolved around him. I mean, like, I was completely neglected, I felt like. I don't blame them, and I want to make sure that that's clear. I don't blame them. I have no idea what it's like to lose a kid. I don't have kids. I can't imagine what that would feel like. I can't imagine losing a son to suicide, let alone cancer or, there's guilt that goes in with that. You analyze your parenting, you analyze your family. Like, I have no idea what that was like for them. I think now looking back that they were doing the things that they can and felt right in that moment. But I was completely neglected, like absolutely neglected. My dad resorted to drinking. My mom resorted to her bed. She did not get out of bed ever, ever, ever. So it was like I had to fend for myself. Like, yeah, sure, at 14 you can make a sandwich, but like we didn't celebrate Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving. Everything was just off the table. Micah wasn't around, so we don't do it. So it was just like I grew up with absent parents. Like, they were there, they were walking zombies, but like I was alone. I was completely alone.
That's gotta be hard to navigate too when you don't know how they're feeling.
Right.
But you're also so young where
I don't know how I'm feeling.
And it's probably not even a thought that's crossing your mind.
Yeah.
Right? You're not, like, sitting there with a logical standpoint. Like, even for, like, I mean, we've all been through traumatic events. I couldn't compare to that, though. And the way you handled it, though, and still the way you carry yourself is amazing. You had gone through other things to get there. So you had said you were, like, partying through high school and stuff. And I knew that. Because, one time we went to pick up, I used to hang out with Zach Morrow. And we used to hang out with, we used to pick up, Sierra. Mm-hmm. And she was banging Gillian Holo, dude. Oh, bro. That's so funny. Anyways, see you. And I remember distinctly picking you up at Luciano's one time. Yeah, you were turning it up for sure. How often were you partying during high school, and what drugs and alcohol? What drugs were you using on top?
So I drank like I said, Rocky River was graceful to me. They were like, I struggled, so they were like, here's packets, do homework at home, like do schoolwork at home. Which I mean, I didn't fucking do that. Like they like it was a mercy graduation for me.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. I mean, I barely graduated.
What was your GPA?
Probably a 2.3. Maybe.
Dude,
whatever the passing minimum is, that's where I was at.
Dude, I got by with a 2. No, I don't even think it was.
I don't know. Whatever the minimum was is what I got. I had to do like an internship my senior year to get some extra credits so I didn't have to be in school. But I drank, so I was at home. And I would go to Mark's and steal bottles of that shitty Kamshitska vodka. I call it Kamshitska because it gives me the shits. But you know what I'm talking about? The clear bottle that was like...
Oh, you're talking about the stuff that like literally tastes like rubbing alcohol.
Yes, yeah. But it was cheap. I could put it in my backpack and walk out of Mark's and nobody would know.
No one's gonna think you're
I would buy a candy bar and,
That's wild.
So my dad was making wine at the time, so I would drink his wine bottles. I was drinking, I don't think anybody realized, but I was trying to numb myself any way possible.
And this is every day.
This was pretty much every day.
When you had the opportunity
I blacked out on the weekends, but, I would take shots to help me sleep. Like, I didn't get into drugs. Honestly, I smoked weed once and had a panic attack, and I was like, this isn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
I eventually got into it, but I was drinking all the time. Like, I went to the hospital my junior year of high school because I was in DTs. I was detoxing. Like,
really?
I almost had a seizure. I was puking everywhere. I couldn't stop. My blood sugar dropped down to 42.
Oh, wow.
So I was in the hospital for about a week, and there was like an intervention about it. They were like, I blamed it on anorexia, that I wasn't eating and that. And then they put me in a psych ward.
Where did you go, if you don't mind me? I went
Lutheran, the adolescent psych ward.
Lutheran Hospital.
That was my first stint at a psych ward. So when I was an adolescent, I went to Fairview Hospital at the adolescent ward.
Okay.
But that was because I told them I was anorexic. They found cuts on my arms. They also knew that I had a shit ton of alcohol in my system.
Right.
So they were just like...
And how old were you?
I was a junior in high school.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was... Okay, here, let me ask you this. When you were in that psych ward, because I feel like this is a huge misconception. People always want to say, oh, well, this person's like insane or they're manic or whatever they might be. Let's put them in this fucking psych ward. And in my experience, that's like the worst thing ever for somebody.
Yeah.
There's no natural light. You're like, it's a prison.
I loved it.
It's a prison. I mean, I don't know where you went.
I loved it. And here's why. I felt like in that moment, because I'm in the hospital for a week at this point because I'm detoxing, and, I've got social workers in there, Child Protective Services came to my house after this.
Oh, I believe it.
So I'm talking to the social worker, and it felt like at that moment, they were like, we're going to get you help. Mm-hmm. Like, somebody saw me. Somebody
so
saw
at that point,
me.
It was like a relief for you.
Yes, somebody saw me, knew that I was struggling, knew that I needed help, and I had opened up at that point and was like, I'm going to kill myself.
Right.
I may not do it, like, flat out with a rope, but, I'm not eating, I'm drinking myself to death. Like, I'm trying every way possible at this point to just, like, die by natural causes. So at that point, I was in the psych ward. They had gotten me on meds that helped. They had gotten me. Is that why you
ended up in the psych ward? Just because you were trying to...
yeah, I flat out told them, like, I'm going to die.
So a year ago today, that was my OD, my low my I want to kill myself moment. Mm-hmm. It was a year ago today. A year ago today is when I went down to, like, detox, and then I went to
Lutheran.
Lutheran. Shout out.
Which floor were you on?
Dude, I had some...
I'm a frequent flyer over there.
I had some real good-looking nurses over there, man. But I was, like, coming off of a lot of cocaine, a lot of Xanax, alcohol, and then, like, afterwards they're like, they pink slip you.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So you can't leave. You have 72 hours where
72-hour hold, yeah.
You're not allowed to go anywhere. I'll never forget looking at the nurse. It's like fucking 4 or 5 in the morning. I'm still fucked up out of my mind. I'm like, so what would happen, like, if I theoretically just, ran out of here? She's like, you'd be arrested.
Yeah.
And I was like, well...
And it's an AMA, so your insurance wouldn't cover that. You'd pay full.
I was already... No, you know what? I did have insurance.
I know, but if you leave against medical advice, they charge you.
Done. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In case you ever go back, don't leave.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not planning on it. Yeah, no, that was pretty bad. No, I went there, but they took me to St. Vincent after that. And bruh. I thought I was crazy. Like, I'm doing all right. Because, like, there's some motherfuckers in there that are
I know, yeah. Well, the cool
nuts,
thing about Lutheran, though, is they separate people who are, like, schizophrenic, going crazy, and then the people who are just, like, really depressed and want to kill themselves. But that was not the first time in high school that I was in the psych ward.
Okay.
Because my senior year, I tried to overdose on Xanax, Klonopin, and alcohol.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You probably don't remember any of that.
No. My mom found me, which is super shitty.
Yeah.
Because that's her third, because TJ has done it multiple times. That's her third kid now. I mean, that's something I apologize to her very, very often for, because it's like...
But you're doing
senior
okay,
year,
though. Like, I mean, I think now, though, for you, even when I see you, right, I can tell that, like, you're doing good everything's going well for you. You seem happy. You don't look like you're smoking crack or doing anything crazy. You know what I mean? Not that you ever looked like you were smoking crack, maybe a little bit.
A little bit.
I'm just kidding, you know. But, like, I mean, seriously, it's great to see that. But I think a big part about this is what you're talking about right now is how you've taken the steps to get there. And even, like, feeling that empathy or sympathy of, like, I'm sorry, Mom. Like, I never meant to make you feel like that, you know?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool of you, actually. You know, that you.
I mean, that's what happens when you, like, take a deep dive and look at yourself. Because, I mean, it took me 2020 when I finally got sober. I mean, I had hit a rock bottom where it was like, I lost my car at that point. I didn't have a place to go. I was drinking endlessly.
How old are you?
I was 23.
Okay.
When that happened. Yeah. So I had hit an all-time low, and I was like, I'm going to kill myself, or I need to figure something out. And so I ended up calling my doctor.
What kind of drugs were you using? I want to go over that. It's important, and here's why.
So by the end, I was drinking all day, every day, smoking weed all day, every day, taking Xanax, snorting cocaine to level out. So I was just like, and I was taking my antidepressants.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I was taking. So when I had actually gotten to the psych ward, this is interesting. I'll sidebar this. So I'm not trying to make this all.
No.
But we have a lot in common there. Because my whole thing was the balance too.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm taking my meds, doc.
Yeah. Because like
they're not working.
I would take my Lexapro in the morning. I was like 20 milligrams of Lexapro, and then I would eat a Xanax because I'm fucking still teetering from the night before, like coming down real hard, and then I'd go to work, crush the day, whatever. And then I'd get out of work. I'd stop at the gas station, get a couple of them gas station shots. Mm-hmm. Not quite as trashy as the fucking vodka.
I graduated from that, though.
The nail polish remover you were drinking. And I would get a bag of Coke. And then, you know how it is, though. Like, once you get up to a certain point, you gotta start.
You gotta level out, yeah.
You gotta come back, otherwise it gets miserable.
Yeah.
You know? And, but that's real interesting because the doctor at the psych ward was like, yeah, you realize, like, your antidepressants are doing nothing.
Yeah.
They're being completely negated by all these drugs and alcohol you're using.
I'm like, they're not working. We need a different med.
I know.
I was on, like, 7 different antidepressants, dude. I was on, like, 400 milligrams of gabapentin 3 times a day. I was on Lexapro, Abilify, a zombie on top of everything else I was doing.
on Lexapro.
And I'm like, these aren't working.
Well, no, they probably weren't, dude.
No, are you
kidding? I used to get, like, more depressed, and I'd be like, I'll just eat another Xanax.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I'll be all right. And it was like, wait, it's 3 days later.
Yeah, no.
So you're using all those drugs. Now, you went to the Army.
Yes.
After high school. Mm-hmm. Right? Let's backtrack a little bit. How long were you in the Army?
Well, right out of high school, I couldn't get into any colleges.
Right.
I had such a low GPA that no college was, like, not even Kent. You know what I mean?
Dang, I think I got into Kent, dude.
I didn't even get into Kent. So I got into a branch campus of Ohio State. And that was like, I got into a branch at Kent. But it was like, you did it at home. And I was like, I'm not staying here. In no way, shape, or form am I staying in this house. Like, it was my ticket to leave. So I did a semester, a branch campus at Ohio State and Newark. And I did ROTC there for a semester. Okay. And when I realized that it was like child's play shit, I was like, okay, I'm just going to enlist. So also another thing that happened. So this is a pattern that I have. So like things happen to me and I'm like, I got to escape. No way am I going to deal with this. If it comes back up, I'll shove it back under. So at Ohio State, I was raped. And that was 2 weeks before I left for basic training. And my my NCO was like, are you sure you leave in 2 weeks? Like, do you need therapy? Do you like?
Yeah, of course.
What do you want to do? And I said, no, I'm fucking going. What do you mean?
So you're already like pretty traumatized from all the things that happened before, and this is like.
So it was like my one place to like, I got out of the house. I get to a new place. I think things are going to start over for me, and then I just get hit with something else. And they were like, should we? And I was like, no, we're going. It's fine. So I shipped out for basic training 2 weeks later. And then I went through basic training. And I mean, I did pretty fucking well. I mean, who would have thought, like, an alcoholic like me in a structured environment with no alcohol and shit to do every day would thrive, right?
Oh, dude. Idle hands at the devil's playground. I mean, and for you, to notice that about yourself?
Yeah.
Right? That's huge. But I think also, do you think at that point when you were raped, do you think that it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction of, okay, we just keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. We keep moving. Yeah.
We just keep moving.
Yeah, and then, so I get home from basic training and AIT. I mean, I had gotten PT awards, Distinguished Leadership Awards. I got an Army Achievement Medal twice. I had been promoted twice. Like, it was just like, I was fucking gung-ho and ready to go. Like, at this point, basic training was nothing.
Fucking Jane over here, dude.
It was nothing, though. Like, I've been fearful my entire life. For me to be put in a fearful situation of somebody yelling at me all day, I'm like, bet, bitch.
Really?
I've been doing this my whole life.
Of you just taking this, because I just can't imagine some drill instructors screaming at you and you just being like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, I thrived, and then I got home and I had idle time. And what did I do? I went back to drinking, and it was normal in the military too. I did 1 weekend a month drills, but you know, it was weird if you didn't have vodka in your Gatorade bottle when you were driving your truck. Like, everybody in the Army also fucking drinks. Like, I mean, they're kind of like,
when you were driving your truck.
Yeah, I'm not even kidding.
You sound like a lesbian on our way to a softball.
I mean, that's what I did. I drove fucking trucks, big rigs, 40-foot trailers, MRAPs, Humvees, yeah, armored 5 tons.
Do you have your CDL?
You know why I had that job?
No, I don't.
So you have to take an ASVAB, okay? It's out of 100, and then whatever score you get is where it qualifies you for a job. My qualifications, because I got a 42, a cook, or a truck driver. I said, I'm not going to be a fucking white bitch cook in the military. Absolutely fucking not.
Yeah, that would be making sandwiches for the boys.
Hell no!
Yeah, no, that's rough.
So I'm going to drive a fucking truck.
That's rough, man. Do you think that was a good space for you to occupy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it was. It was good for you. Because it seems like what it did was, even though you did go back to drinking, you therefore understood the structure you needed to.
Yes, but did I do that? No. I mean, did I understand that I needed structure and routine? Yeah, but did I want to do that? Absolutely not. No.
But it's the same kind of scenario where, like, if for both of us, we both had, like, overdosed, done way too many drugs, whatever it might be. Do we learn our lesson?
No.
Right there? No. Like,
I'm an alcoholic. Even
for me, yeah, it took time for me to be like, okay, like, if I drink, I'm gonna want to do cocaine.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna want a line. I'm gonna want a whole bag of that shit.
Yeah.
And so but finding that balance of, okay, I need to stay busy. I need to be working. This is what I like to do. How important so I'll tell the audience this. Keegan, she paints, draws, she fixes fucking campers apparently. But she's willing to take on new challenges, which is something I really admire about you. I think it's super cool. And how important has that been to you, just in your life in general now? And we'll get back to the rest of it, but just how important is that?
Here's the thing. No matter how much I've been through, my brain is the problem. Mm-hmm. Like, I can think myself into any situation possible. Like, so I gotta do shit, because my brain, I'm gonna flip a script on somebody. I'm going to think you have ulterior motives. Like, my brain is going to play a completely different narrative than what's happening. Mm-hmm. So, like, and I'm going to think about it all day. It's going to ruminate. It's like a hamster wheel, just going and going and going.
You're one of those people, though, that, and we'll get back to your hobbies, but you're one of those people that your emotions consume you.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
So I have to stay busy. Like, mentally, my head needs to be somewhere else. And I'm always on a project, whether it's a camper, whether it's painting, whether it's sewing, whether it's cleaning, whether it's cooking. It could be small shit like cooking and cleaning. Like, I have to constantly be doing something. Okay. And if I can have idle time where I'm watching a movie, but if I know I'm not invested in the movie and my mind's going elsewhere, I got to pick something up. Got it. Because I will go crazy. I will go absolutely nuts.
Do you sleep well at night?
Now I do.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, now I do. I'm going to say better. I'm going to say I sleep better.
Okay.
I sleep better. Do I fall asleep easily? No. But I sleep better than I did.
What was your drug of choice when you were really in the throes of things? I mean, alcohol, I'm assuming?
Here's the thing. Alcohol was my drug of choice because it was the easiest to get.
Okay.
and the cheapest. If I had endless amounts of money, it would have been cocaine. Because I genuinely thought it was my antidepressant. It got me up, it got me moving, I could think.
Yeah.
I was happy.
Let's go, dude.
Like, I was just ready for the world. Like, I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Let's fucking do this shit.
It turns like somebody with an outgoing personality and any sort of egotistical issues or narcissistic issues. I'm not talking about myself, guys. No, I totally am. But it just inflates that.
Yeah.
It makes it so much worse. And that's why I burned all my bridges, you know, because I was just so fucked up.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh, I'll handle this. I could do this. I could say whatever I want to whoever I want. I don't give a fuck what they think. And now I look back and I've read some of those messages and I'm like, damn.
Damn.
So how do you think cocaine fucked your life up?
I'm not going to say it was cocaine singly, but I mean, God.
Well, and the Xanax, because what a lot of people don't understand is when you're mixing them, the effect of the Xanax a lot of the time isn't just the balance, but you black out. Especially with the alcohol.
Here's what I'm going to say. I think cocaine was a drug that I absolutely loved and that I couldn't afford. Mm-hmm. So I stopped paying my car payment. I had my car in a parked garage downtown Cleveland so that the repo man wouldn't find it. It had been a year before I had paid my car payment.
But next time we park that at the airport because that's a better place to put it.
I don't know, they didn't find it. But I mean, I stopped paying my car payment. I was selling things like objects to make money. I had done some dumb shit to make money, you know.
Because like I remember when I lived in Dallas with Ubi over here, I was working at this Mazda store, and my old buddy Zach was at, he was like crackheading real hard around Dallas. And you know the drill with him. Mm-hmm. And the one day he picks me up, dude, and he's got a bunch of copper in the trunk that he stole from one Home Depot. And he was going to go return them at another Home Depot, dude. And I was like...
That's smart!
Yeah, no, genius, dude. Totally genius. And then to make matters even better, in the vehicle with him was this other guy that he met at a hotel that wanted to do Molly with us. And I was like, immediately, I'll never forget calling you because I was fucking pissed. But anyways, yeah, that shit is, yeah, man, you can't be stealing shit and selling it. But what was the dumbest thing you've ever...
I think the dumbest objects, I just sold my pots and pans on Facebook Marketplace.
You went through, so like one day you're like, I need money, and where are you selling this at the time? Facebook Marketplace?
Facebook Marketplace. I mean, you could go to... clothes. I sold a lot of clothes. So, like, Plato's Closet and... Okay. Yeah, dumb shit. I would steal, like, my sister's prom dresses that they were keeping for keepsakes because it was their prom. Like, I would sell those. Yeah, I would do odd jobs. I'd clean people's houses.
Oh, yeah? Dang. That's so fucking weird. That's crazy, though, but it's amazing what people will do to...
Oh, yeah.
And it's not that and I think the misconception... specifically with people that have gone through traumatic events that not make them do those things, that lead them to the choice that they made.
I think it's my disease. I'm thoroughly an alcoholic. Okay. And I think that it's the obsession. I have the obsession before I even pick something up. So I have the obsession, say this is a beer. I'm obsessing about it, okay? Mm-hmm. The moment I pick that up, then it becomes a physical obsession. But I have a mental obsession until I pick that up. So unless I'm not on it right now, like I'm obsessed with it. I will do absolutely fucking anything to get it.
Theo Von has a phenomenal quote associated with what you just said. And even has to do with like your feelings, right? Because... everybody asks me, like, Roger, are you an alcoholic or are you a drug addict? And, like, for me, it's, I don't know. I want to say just yes to make it easy. Yeah. But I don't crave alcohol. I don't crave drugs. I just, when I do it, I go on benders.
Here's what I'm going to tell you.
I want to hear it. This podcast
not is for me an anyway, alcoholic does not fit in one box. Okay. Okay? Okay. I didn't think, like, when I went to rehab, it was a dual diagnosis center. So I thought I was going there to get help with my mental health. Okay. And then quickly realized, oh shit, I'm an alcoholic. Or I'm a drug addict. Because I'm surrounded by a bunch of people that, even some of them have their shit together. Mm-hmm. But are still, like, you can, here's another way I'll put it. Like, I see so many people in Alcoholics Anonymous that have has had amazing lives and are still alcoholics. Right. Functioning alcoholics.
Right.
And it's not the fact that I'm like dying to get a drink, I'm dying to drink the next day, or I'm dying, or I even wake up drinking. It's the fact that when I drink, I have no idea what the fuck's gonna happen. I don't know when to stop. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I don't know if I'm gonna buy cocaine. I don't know if I'm gonna kill myself.
Right. Yeah. See, me.
You know.
We are. That's. So that's me right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm an alcoholic then, because not that I've ever dodged that or recently dodged it, but what I have really learned about myself is when I drink, specifically by myself, right? I have no control.
Right.
I have none, because I immediately go to, I want to kill myself. I hate my life. I miss having a girlfriend. It's boohoo Roger.
And then you're reaching out to God knows what.
Dude, I'm reaching out to the fucking cocaine gods.
I ruined relationships. Absolutely ruined. Like, I had no idea what it was like to take personal accountability. I had no idea what it was like that, like, my actions may affect other people. Like, it was a foreign concept that, like, I thought, like, it's my fucking life. If you're sad about whatever I did, get the fuck over it. But, like, I had no empathy. I had no compassion. I didn't give a fuck about what anybody thought or felt. It was me. Mm-hmm. I couldn't take accountability. I gave no apologies, you know, and I lost a lot of friends. Well,
so I'm dealing with that same thing, right? Where my actions created that problem.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm in a situation now where I've tried to apologize to some people.
You can't.
And yeah, they're not receptive, which I've understood to be fine. Like, I'm okay with it. I've realized that.
But are you apologizing for you, or are you apologizing for them?
No, I feel legitimately bad, you know, about a lot of the things I said or I did, you know. But I also feel like I couldn't put on that apology or like how I feel in their hands. But at some point, I had to stop chasing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I had to just like start moving on. So like some of those relationships that I'd love to rebuild, one, it's not for me to decide whether they were there to rebuild or not.
Right.
I realized, right? And then two, I can't spend all my time chasing it.
Right.
And that's a son of a bitch to deal with.
Yeah.
You know? Because they're like, man, I love this person so much, I fucked you over that bad where you felt like you had to leave.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I think that's where I struggle now. And when I do drink, that's where my head goes.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. Or like my sister, who's a dumb bitch, or my sister, you know? No resentment, right? But yeah.
Here's what I'm going to say. I made a lot of amends in this 3 years of sobriety.
Right.
And going into it, I had to look at the parts that I played. So I cleared my side of the street. You know, some relationships were rebuilt. You know, my best friend today didn't talk to me for 2 years. I made an amends to her, and we've been together ever since. And there are some that do not want an amends, don't want to talk to me, cannot stand me, and that's an acceptance piece for me. Like, right. I have to accept that I fucked up. I royally fucked up. Enough for somebody to be like, I could care less what happens to you.
Yeah.
And that's on me. Yeah. That's on me.
I'll tell you, I don't think it was, and tell me how you felt, when you got to that space where you realized it was on you, that's for me when I felt a huge sense of relief in a weird way, where I was like, that sucks, but at least I like own it now. Mm-hmm. Versus like all the friends I still do talk to, I'm 20 million times more thankful for them now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's such a shitty part about addiction.
Yeah.
And I never like to use it as an excuse either, because that's even worse. Well, I was fucked up. It's like, well, you know, it doesn't mean you needed to be treated like that or acting like that.
Yeah.
What is something you struggle with on a regular basis now for everybody out there? I mean, you've heard Keegan talk about how she's got, you know, been through a lot of things, and then how she didn't deal with them in the most amazing way. At first, she, you know, crutched on drugs, isolating herself, drinking nail polish remover, basically. And it is, dude.
It is,
dude. And but you look at her now, and what have you done that is, like, what do you do now that has changed? Where's your head at now? And, like, what has made you better? And is it still an ongoing process?
It's always going to be an ongoing process for me. I think what was important for me was to develop a relationship with something that was greater than me. And I'm not saying that's God. I'm not saying that's Jesus Christ. If you want to follow religion, that's great. Not for me.
And Keegan hit me up, and that's why we started talking again. Just kidding.
But I had to believe, like, I had to have faith in something that something's got me. And that whatever I have, like, I had to give something control. Because, sure, I could have believed in a higher power, but, like, nothing was bigger than Keegan. Like, nothing. Like, I had control of everything. Because I felt my entire life like nobody's got me. And I gotta get me, you know? So I think it was huge for me to realize that there's some things out of my control, and I gotta leave it to whatever that is that's above me to deal with that. To have faith that it works in other people's lives as far as, like, they're gonna be okay, you know? And some people die. I don't know why that is yet. You know, can't figure that out, but it's a huge acceptance piece for me. I think another thing is I got to be really conscious of my character defects. Like, I know I'm a vengeful person. I know that I'm stubborn and that I'm quick. I'm quick to anger. I am, and I can say things off the rip. You gotta come to that anger management class I was telling you about, dude. But I manage my anger.
Mine's court ordered, but it's alright.
I'm lazy.
Okay.
I'm naturally lazy. I don't want to do shit. So I gotta be, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything. But I know that that's not good for me.
Right.
You know, I know that that's not good for me. So I have to have routines and shit in place. And I gotta know when to walk the fuck away. I need to know when my boiling point is so I can be like, hey, let's table this. I need a second.
Is that during just, like, intense conversations, whether it's friends or your boyfriend?
Yeah, it's anything.
Okay.
It's with any relationship. It's at work. It's at, I got to pause.
Let me hit that thing.
I got to pause.
I just got diagnosed with mouth herpes 2 days ago.
Cool. Sounds good. And I think another thing that was huge for me was that I had to find people that were like me. And I'm talking, and you know, for some people that's Alcoholics Anonymous, and for some people it's not. But I had to be around people that thought like me, that wanted to drink like me, that were struggling like me, that had to give advice like I would give advice. I mean, it's very comforting for me to be in a group of people that have been through shit and, like, can still want to live today.
Do you have a hard time relating to people who, I mean, this is kind of a dumb question based on what you just said, but I'll rephrase. Do you have a hard time, no, I won't rephrase. Do you have a hard time relating to people that maybe don't even perceive their lives as being, like, they have gone through hard stuff, but just people in general that haven't gone through anything, maybe that's not as difficult as you, but just any sort of difficulty, or there's something you'd view as difficult. Do you have trouble relating to them and having those conversations? Because life in their eyes is, like, so fucking, you know, it's like a fucking Cinderella cartoon.
I don't think it's that I have a hard time relating. I think that naturally I want to be like, buck the fuck up.
Right.
But I don't have a problem relating because I know that they're feeling, in a sense, some of the things that I feel. Like, if it's the hardest thing they've been through, it's the hardest thing they've been through. You know, they're still feeling those emotions, regardless of what it is. So I don't think I have a hard time relating or giving advice or, like, just talking about a scenario. Like, if you want to talk about how your grandparents died, mine did too. I would love to help you with that. But, I mean, my natural state in I'm going to say some cases, is buck the fuck up.
Yeah.
That's unfair. That's really unfair. And I know that about me, is that it's really unfair for me to say, oh, you know what, your feelings aren't valid. You haven't gone through really hard things. Look at what I did.
It's probably hard, though, in your position to not compare subconsciously, right?
Here's the thing. I don't as much anymore because I've healed.
Right.
I've dealt with it, and now I'm in a really good place. And I can go back to those moments where, you know, and it may be, I notice with a lot of people, it's not some of the hard stuff they've been through. It's that they deal heavily with depression, and that I can relate to. You know, it's not necessarily that they can pinpoint it to one trauma where they're like, this is where my depression started. It's like, I can't get out of bed. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't eat. I can't sleep. And it's not necessarily like,
did you ever
because my grandpa died. Oh my God. Are you kidding?
Like, yeah, like in that portion of your isolation, was that your everyday?
I was majority of my days. I mean, if I wasn't on cocaine, absolutely. But
yeah, me too. I mean,
and
they say
here's the
isolating is
thing.
the worst thing you could do.
I went to a psych ward in sobriety.
Oh wow, you were in.
Yes.
Okay.
So my first year of sobriety, I had about 4 months sober, maybe 5 months, maybe 6 months. I know it was very early in my sobriety. It's the point in time where you start to feel all of the feelings that you suppressed, and you have nowhere to go because you haven't developed those coping skills yet.
Oh, dude,
you can't drink.
This is like a couple months ago. I just got out of it.
Yeah.
I totally feel
and
this.
I was just like insane. Like I could not get out of bed. I was sobbing all the time. And it was just like these emotions that I'd suppressed for so long were coming out. And I felt like I can't do it. I don't want to drink, but I don't want to fucking be here, you know? So I went to Lutheran and I said, I'm going to drink or I'm going to kill myself. I said, I'm going to drink and then I'm going to kill myself.
Really?
So somebody needs to lock me up. Yeah. So I was in the psych ward for about a week in sobriety because I had all these emotions I'd suppressed for 10
You've always
plus
been
years.
so self-aware. It's wild to me.
I'm self-aware now.
Okay. But
I'm
you seem
self-aware
even
now.
at that point, though.
I know, but it's hindsight.
Right.
It's hindsight. Like, I can look at scenarios now and be like, okay, that's what I was feeling, because I'm able to call those out now. You know, in the beginning of sobriety, I had no idea what feelings were. Like, absolutely zero.
Right.
I would get anxiety because I'm like, I've never felt this before. What the fuck is this? You know? And I couldn't even pull it out. In the psych ward, they've got, like, rehab, I should say. They've got, like, feelings charts of, like, smiles and whatever. And I'm like, I don't know what any of these are. I don't know what they feel like.
With the beer, so
yeah.
I can circle it.
Yeah. So, like, now
funny.
it's hindsight. Like, I can be like, okay, yes, this is what I was feeling in that moment. Or, like, I mean, at the time when I was young, I hated my parents. I couldn't stand them. Could not stand them. I couldn't even be in the same room as my dad. And that didn't work itself out until I got sober. A year into sobriety, I couldn't be in the same room with him. Like, he would make my skin crawl.
See, I haven't talked, so I wanted to talk to you about that, but I don't. How has your relationship with your parents changed or not changed over, let's say, from the time you were really resentful and I don't want to say like hateful, but maybe you were full of hate.
Yeah, I was full of hate.
To now, like how has that improved or not improved at all?
Oh, it's absolutely improved. And I think, like before I got sober, I blamed them for everything, and truly wasn't their fault. I mean, there were some situations that could have been handled, and I think that's just grace. Like, there are situations that I could have handled better. I think you give humans grace because they're human and they have human emotions, and sometimes they don't know how to handle things and they don't handle it in the best way. And I think before I got to realize that, I could not stand them. I blamed them for everything. I blamed them for why I was an alcoholic. I blamed them for why I had depression. I blamed them for triggers. And then when I got sober and I got to work the steps and I started to realize the parts that I played in that relationship. I mean, I'll take my dad as the biggest one. I couldn't be in the same room with him. And then, you know, I dug deep into that relationship.
Is it just because of the alcoholic trigger at that point?
No, I mean...
Or just like resentful?
He never showed an ounce of love.
Got it.
He was a mean alcoholic. He was mean. He was mean. And he would hit the boys.
Yeah.
He wouldn't hit the girls, but he hit the boys, and I just remember feeling like, you are not a good man.
Yeah, you knew that.
I hated him, and I did not talk to him. I mean, from the time that Micah died, I probably did not have a meaningful conversation or any kind of positive conversation with my dad. And when I got sober, I had to dive into that relationship. I had to look like the parts that I played. I mean, I had to understand that he was going through something just as much as I was going through something, and he grew up in a family. I had to learn about his childhood. He grew up in a family that didn't talk about emotions either, and they didn't hug, and they didn't say I love you.
But it's weird because, you know, when you see that, like, I always make an effort to give my son a hug and a kiss and like tell him I love him, stuff like that. And I saw that with my kid's mom. Her whole family is the same way, where they don't do like hugs or anything, and you see it portrayed in
and you know what, his view of love is paying the bills and going to work every day. And that I'm gonna suffer at this job because he didn't really like his job.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna do these things so that you guys are comfortable. And that was his sign of love. And I had to understand that in the relationship, that people love very differently. And I also had to look at it that, like, as much as he may have done some things, I robbed him of a relationship with me. I completely robbed him. Even if I never got an apology, I wasn't in a place to ever forgive him.
Do you feel like that was all your fault, or do you feel like he played a role still? And the reason I say that is because I feel like that's kind of a harsh thing to put on you.
Here's what I'm going to say, is that I know my role, and whatever he wants to do with his role is on him.
Okay. That's
so I clear my side of the street, and I remember, you know, when I made my amends to my dad and I'd said, you know, I robbed you of a relationship with me and I'm sorry. And how can we make this relationship work? And he was like, water under the bridge, you know? Like, he had nothing to say because emotions aren't there for him. And our relationship now, and I may seem like the dumbest daughter he has, but, like, he's a fix-it guy. And I know he's going to want to help or do something. So I have to call him and be like, hey, Dad, what's the difference between a AA battery and a AAA battery? And he'll be like, oh, Keegan, it's... But that's how we connect.
Like, how stupid are you, Keegan?
Yeah, but that's how we connect now, because he's a fix-it guy.
You know that. So, like, I deal with... I don't talk to anybody in my family. You know? Like, I don't talk to anybody. I don't talk to my mom. I don't talk to my dad, brothers, sisters.
Yeah.
I talk to, like, maybe, like, an aunt and an uncle, maybe once in a while, but we're not close like that. And part of me is like, oh, man, because I really respect who all those people are and what they have going on. But, like, they just... It's not reciprocated. You know? You know how you walk into the room and people look at you like, oh, he's fucking crazy as fuck. Or, you know that feeling?
Yeah.
And so for me, I kind of want to ask you, I've removed myself from that completely.
Yeah.
You know, because that space is not... It's not that it's uncomfortable. I just feel like it's toxic for me.
Yeah.
Right? So do you think that's a healthy way to handle it? Or do you think, you know... Because, like, my trigger with this whole thing was... It was last year. I was on probation. I was already off drugs. I was off alcohol for a couple weeks. And probation, in a lot of ways, was the best thing that happened to me. Because it gave some...
structure.
I had to have it.
Accountability.
And I just had none. Yeah, I was a mess. It's scary, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, you know, Thanksgiving was coming up. And we always, you know, do Thanksgiving at a family member's house or whatever. And I caught wind that I wasn't invited. But everybody was just telling me that they're not having it, you know?
Yeah.
Which was, I just ended up finding out later that through my grandma, like, she slipped up and was like, oh, we saw your brother and your sister at Thanksgiving or whatever, and I wasn't invited.
Yeah.
And, yeah, right? And I was like, hey, listen, to my Uncle Tim, I went off on him, you know? And I don't not love my Uncle Tim, but I still to this day feel like that was some bullshit not to at least call me.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, man, this is why we don't want you there. Or we don't want... Whatever it is. Even if you don't want to explain it to me, just say it. I just thought it was some bullshit. And so after that had happened, I mean, I kind of just... Everybody was just like... I literally was like, fuck everybody.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's like, well, I don't know where you stand. And I'm too afraid to get close to you at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's why now, for me, like, I'm isolated to a very small friend group. And they're all pretty much new people.
Yeah.
You know?
And here's what I'm going to tell you. That was my entire life.
Yeah.
I think. I always had new friends, new groups, because people found out who I was.
Yeah.
People got to know me and they realized, you know, you're not that great of a person. Like, you kind of suck.
For sure.
And then people would move on or not invite me to things, or I would have to find new friends groups. And, you know, and right before I went to rehab, COVID happened. I lost my apartment. That's why I was homeless. And I asked to come home and my parents said no.
Dang.
And it was, it was my fault.
Right.
I fucked a lot of people over. And I got to take accountability for that. And you know what? Some people might not forgive me, and that's not on me.
Right.
That's on them.
Yeah, I just...
And you got to look at it as like, you know, someone might not have told you why they didn't want you to be, but it's a human condition not to have confrontation.
Here's the kicker about the whole thing is I don't even blame them for not wanting me there.
Right.
Because I look back now, I'm like, I wouldn't have wanted me there.
Right.
Right? Because I was unpredictable. A couple months before that, my Uncle Mark had grabbed a beer out of my hand at a family party, and I, like, went into the garage, and I fucking threw a Corona bottle in the air and let that thing break.
Yeah.
And I was out of my mind. I think I told you that before.
Yeah.
And Keegan's been amazing to me through this process, because we've had other conversations that have been very helpful for me. But what are your triggers now with alcohol, per se? Is there anything that you refuse to be around or you can't be around because you're like, I'll probably dive right in?
So, alcohol, I'm fine with. I haven't been around cocaine or other drugs since I've been sober, and I know that's because I don't know what will happen. I don't know whether that's do I do it or do I get a severe panic attack because I think I want to do it. So alcohol is not triggering for me anymore. I think it's funny because I'll be in scenarios where, you know, I'm with my friends and they're drinking and they're like, oh my God, this tastes like shit. And I'll be like, oh my God, what does it taste like? And I'll reach for it and be like, oh wait, shit, I'm not allowed to, I'm not allowed to do that. And like, even they'll catch me too. They'll be like, what? And I'll be like, what? Like, you know, so it's not so much a trigger of like, I want to drink. It's like little moments where I forget I'm an alcoholic and I can't taste something or I can't have a beer. I will say that for the longest time in my active addiction, my disease, my alcoholism hid underneath my depression and anxiety. I thought that if I fixed my depression or I fixed my anxiety, I'd fix my life. I'd stop drinking so much. I could only have one. Like it hid under. I was like, if I was just on the right meds or if I just leveled out or it like hid under that. And I got to remember that because the moments when I get complacent and I stop going to meetings or I stop talking to people and my depression gets up, my disease will hit a moment where I'm so low in my depression, it creeps up and it says, hey, you should have a beer.
They're one and the same.
It waits for me. It waits at that moment where, you know, and I dealt with depression this past winter and I had to be proactive about it. I was like, okay, I need to get on these meds. I need to make sure I'm going to a meeting at least every other day. I need to be calling people because there have been moments where I get into that vulnerability of my depression and anxiety and that disease goes, hey, have a drink.
So I totally feel that. And like the wintertime around here is so brutal. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be moving out of Cleveland here eventually soon because fuck this place. But the winters are brutal.
Yeah.
And we went out to LA in like February, March, one of the times. And I'll never forget going out there. And I looked at Ubi and I go, this is the best I've felt. Remember that? I was like, this is the best I've felt in months. Because it was the first time where I was away from that isolation. And I was away from that, like, I don't want to get out of bed. I mean, I was doing the podcast and, like, everything. But, like, it was helpful to talk to people to get, like, tools rolling. You know, but when you dive back, when you eventually get outside of that miserable space that you're living in and see things from the outside looking in, you're like, man, I really fucked this up, dude. Yeah. You know?
And I also think, like, I tried the geographical cures. Like, I moved to North Carolina. And
I remember you telling me that.
And you know what? I did for a couple weeks have, like, oh, my God, this is great. I'm going to feel better. But that shit finds you. No matter where you are.
I know that.
That shit fucking finds you.
I think for me, I feel like I'm gonna move south. I don't know what I'm going to do. I want to move to Savannah. That's where I want to move. Because nobody's fucking there.
Savannah's a party town.
Listen,
you know what? I took a solo trip, my first year of sobriety. On my 1 year anniversary, I booked a trip to Savannah because I love
Savannah, though.
I loved it, but I was 1 year sober. I went down there solo. I got an Airbnb. I was walking around the town, and I was like, fuck. Because it's bars. It's just bars.
I like it. I think I also have a drive to move there in a way, kind of, because I was going to move there like a couple years ago, and there was this whole thing with my ex and my kid's mom. You know, there was like this whole thing of, you can't move there, this and that. And now I'm in that mode of like, I'm going to move there. Like, I'll show you I can do it. And like,
is it out of spite or is it because you want to move there?
No, I really want to move. I've always wanted to move there. I've really always liked it. No, I don't really do things out of spite. I can't anymore. I did, though, for sure. I did a lot of things out of spite.
I think my first year of sobriety was out of spite. People said I couldn't do it.
This podcast...
I mean, that got me sober for a year, and then I worked a program.
This podcast originally was out of spite when I first thought of it. I swear to God, dude.
Way to be honest.
I swear to God, dude. I swear to God. When I first thought about this, I was like, I'm going to come on here. I'm going to be a fucking asshole. I'm going to say what I want. I'm going to talk shit about, you know, whoever.
I remember when you were in that space.
Oh, yeah.
But right before I came over, right before you started this podcast.
Bro, actually, I was looking through messages, and it was like whatever, May 22nd. You were over like 2 days before I OD'd.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I was a mess. And I'll never forget thinking, I'm going to start this podcast. And I'm going to say all these things. I'm going to expose all these people. And then, like, it was like, court date,
Humbled.
Probation.
Humbled.
You know, federal subpoena. You know, you need to go here for a deposition. And I had all these things going on. And at the end of all of it, by the time the first podcast did come out, because I had filmed 4 of them, and then I was like, I'm not putting any of these out because they were just fucking mean. You know, they were not right, and it would have landed me in a lawsuit or whatever. It would have been really bad. So, but yeah, a lot of it. You're right. She just called me on my shit too. Yeah. I won't edit that out. I'll keep that in. So I look like an asshole. But yeah, you're right. That's exactly what it is. It was originally mean out of spite, but now it's great because I could sit down and like hear you say, well, I have to stay busy and this and that. Like, those are the things for even me and a lot of other people I know that listen that helps so much. Yeah. Because you're not alone. You know, there's a lot of people that maybe feel alone, but they don't realize how not alone they are. Yeah. You know, and but that's interesting the way you talk about those triggers of like, I almost forget, but it's not like a craving for you.
Yeah, it's not like a craving. And I think another thing that's super helpful for me now is learning to tell people when I'm not okay. Okay. Like, normally, back in the days, I would be like, I can figure this out. I got this. And then it gets to a moment where I'm screaming for help. And that's usually in a psych ward, right? Right. So, like, now when I'm having these moments of, like, I'm getting out of bed today, but I don't want to get out of bed today, you know? And I have to tell people, like, I'm not okay. I'm getting out of bed, but I'm really not. I'm not here mentally. I am not here. And then people dive in and they're like, okay, what's happened in the last week? Right. And then I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, okay, well, let's walk through. And then people walk me through why I might be. And then I'm like, you know what? You're right. It might be because of this scenario. It might be because I'm huge. My brain automatically from the get-go has been detach. So, like, the moment something happens, I can't even remember it happens.
See, I'm just like you, where I'm immediately like, hey, this is happening. We need to separate ourselves here. Yeah. You need to stay the fuck away from me, and I'm going to isolate from you in this whole situation.
But even, like, my brain, even, like, where it could be a scenario of, like, I just had, I call them, like, Micah moments almost. Like, like, I'll have a moment of, like, God, you know, I wish he was here. And, like, and then immediately I disassociate from that, and then I'm like, wow, why am I feeling so shitty today?
So, do you ever have that feeling, like, where you're like, I still have that feeling with, you know, what I had go on, but, like, you miss somebody or whatever, and you're, like, that pit in your stomach. Yeah. And it's sometimes I catch myself, the one time we were driving through the middle of downtown LA. Yeah. This is, like, last month, and I had that pit in my stomach for, like, 5 minutes. Yeah. And it's just, like, the most miserable feeling ever. But I think now, I don't know. I think I need to just keep on the track I'm on. You know what I mean? Because, like,
you just felt bad that we were throwing things at homeless people.
Dude. We weren't throwing anything at homeless people. Toilet paper. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I thought you were going to say spoons.
Toilet paper. No, dude. Why? Oh, clean ones?
You know, like the spoon.
Like for heroin?
No. Well, yeah, that could
like
be for heroin. Spoons. Yeah, I guess that's
right.
Talk
about drug addicts, dude. What the?
God.
What do you mean by spoons?
There was like a game in high school that people would play. I never played it, but like people would throw spoons, and if you hit a homeless person, you had to go get it.
Dang, dude, I didn't know that was a game.
Yeah.
I'd have played that.
But people would like
I got a fucking arm too.
Yeah, anyways, don't play that.
Yeah, dude, Keegan, you see her on the news.
God.
For whipping spoons at people. Well, I really appreciate everything that you've talked about today, because your perspective, in my opinion, is one of the more valuable ones that I've ever... And you're like such an asset to me as far as like a friend, because of everything that you went through and then your positive outlook on it. I really think Keegan is kind of one of those people that is more of, when you knock her down, like, yeah, she might be down, but like she always builds up 10 times stronger. And that has been my hope with everything I've had going on. It was like, I got knocked down, and then it starts to build up better and better and better every single time. But I'm trying not to fuck it all up, and just being honest and real with people and yourself, and not oversetting expectations has been big. So if you had a piece of advice for the audience on, you know, when you are in that deep dark space, like what would you recommend that they do? To, you know, whether it's get help or talk to somebody, or like what works for you when you need to dig out, even if it's just for that moment.
Yeah. I think moments, I think for those really, really heavy moments, I got to take like a big step back. So like if I'm having this deep emotional, like where I'm weeping and I don't even know why I'm weeping, but I'm feeling uncomfortable, I'm having anxiety, I'm weeping, I got to take a step back. In that moment, if I'm having a panic attack, I need to do something like physical. So if that's fucking go outside and pick weeds, I don't know. But like, or even touch like a little, like a fidget spinner or something. Like I need to do something physical immediately. Also, dude, good food.
Right. Yeah.
Good food really helps, but you know, those are like moment things, like in the moment to help yourself, like good food, something physical. You could even watch a movie, but like you're never going to escape those moments. They may keep happening unless you talk to somebody. Like you have got to talk to somebody. And I think another big thing for me was that I was so hell-bent on I didn't need medication when I got sober because I'm sober. Everything's supposed to be fixed, you know? Like, I think it was, I didn't want to be on medication. I didn't want to talk to a therapist. I didn't want to talk to my doctor. I think it's huge for outreach just for yourself, even if you are kind of doing okay.
Are you doing meds now?
No, I've been off meds since January.
See, I've been off since, well, shit, I mean, technically it's been like a year.
Yeah. I usually, so what happens is I have a treatment plan with my provider. Like, I know that my depression kicks my ass starting October. Like, because I have seasonal depression. So it's going to kick my ass. So I get on my meds around September. It's kicked in by October. Then I get through all my trauma months of like my rape anniversary, Micah's birthday, him dying. And then, you know, I have a couple moments after that. And then, you know, February I start to wean off and then I do it all over again.
The only reason I never went back on was because I felt like, dude, it just crushed my creativity. I felt boring. Does that make sense?
It might not be the right med for you.
Man,
and that's what kills people. Not literally kills them, but I think some people will try a med for a week and be like, it's not working, and then never go back to it. Or some people are on it.
At first for me, but I just now like...
Your brain changes, though.
Yeah.
Your chemical changes. Like, it's a chemical imbalance. Yeah. Depression is a chemical imbalance. For all you science nerds out there. But I've been on 7 different... I know that now, like, Celexa works for me. Okay. I'm on Celexa in the winter. And it just helps me... It's not going to fix everything. That's what I'm going to say to you. It won't fix everything.
Right.
But it gets you enough, just a little bit of a push to be like, okay, I don't want to get out of bed, but I have to, so I am going to.
Yeah. I don't have trouble getting out of bed anymore. I think more so for me, my fear is like... I don't know. I feel like my creativity is crazy when I'm...
Because you're manic.
I got a bumble. I'm definitely manic.
You're manic, dude.
Oh, I'm definitely manic, for sure. What, man? Love is waiting for me, dude.
Not with your intentions.
Shut the fuck off, dude. Yeah, you're right. You're right, not with my intentions. Mm-mm. I don't date, actually. I'm totally kidding. This is not good. This is such a lie of me.
But... I think finding the right med for you and being patient with meds and being honest with your doctor, like, hey, I can't get my dick up. He'd be like, okay, let's switch your med.
All right, dude, no one ever said that.
I'm just saying, it's a common occurrence with antidepressants. I had no libido on Lexapro.
I couldn't come, honestly, on Lexapro. I couldn't.
Yeah, I had zero libido. Do not touch me.
Okay.
Mark Wahlberg could be walking naked in front of me, and I'd be like, ew.
I'd probably fuck Mark Wahlberg for you then. You know?
Yeah, that's fine. If I'm on Lexapro,
it's not like I'm not gay or anything. I feel like you're gay if you don't. $20, you know, $20 is $20, dude. So, I always finish with this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy would you rate yourself to be right now? And if you're not at a 10, what do you think you could do to get there?
Good
or
question.
close to there.
I'm going to say right now I'm an 8.
Oh, I like that. Wow, really?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's dope.
And I think the only reason why I'm there is because I took a fearful jump of switching jobs because I wasn't happy in the work environment that I was in. I took a jump. You know, it's scary. It's scary to do hard things. And the jump worked out. And now I'm way happier with my job. I got 25 days of PTO a year.
Wow.
Who's heard of that? Not me. And my relationships are good. I've got a really good boyfriend. I just fixed up this camper that we're going to be taking around town. And right now I go moment by moment. In this moment, I'm an 8 because I got a good friend by me. We're talking about mental health. I love talking about mental health. I just saw somebody I haven't seen in 10 years,
We're going to have Keegan co-host some of these pods too, I think.
So, when you leave, it could go down to a 6. I don't know. I'm moment by moment. But right now in this moment, I'm an 8.
I'm doing great right now. Honestly, this is therapeutic as fuck to talk to you, dude. It's always good. It's always good. So you're an 8 right now. That's awesome. What do you think you could do to improve it?
Win the lottery.
Yeah, win the lottery. Yeah, that's the money thing. Money can buy happiness, temporarily at least.
Temporarily.
So, anyways, anything else that you want to say?
Check in on your friends. You never know how they're doing.
I like that a lot. That's a good one. That's the best one we've had yet. That's the best closing remark. Well, thank you all for listening. I'll put Keegan's Instagram in the comments or in the description so you guys can follow her. She also... I think it's Keegan on a canvas. Is that
Keegan Canvas.
Keegan Canvas.
It's a pun. Get it, Keegan?
Yeah,
Like Keegan Canvas.
Oh, yeah. Okay, no, I do. Honestly,
no one gets it.
I was playing off like I got it, but I didn't. But she sells like paintings, and she renovates campers and does all kind of cool stuff. So, but we love to support her in any way we possibly can, for real. So, thank you all for listening. We will be back soon with some more. Like, subscribe, comment, and don't be a fucking dick. Thanks again. See you soon. There we go.